What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today I want to talk about the probably biggest position battle heading into the 2023 Chicago Bears training camp. And with that being said, today I want to talk about the center position of the Chicago Bears and how it could look like in 2023. Now, I think that's overall a really interesting topic because there's potentially three guys fighting for that starting position in that specific scenario with the center position, and all three guys have pretty fair shots at getting that starting job for the Chicago Bears within the future. And those three guys are well-established veterans and 1-2-year player in Cody Whitehair, first of all, Lucas Patrick, and Doug Kramer. And how I want to go about this is talk about every single player and then conclude what I think who is going to be the starter come 2023. But I think it's overall really exciting and also at some point also terrifying because we don't have clarification yet, but I can assure you I think the Bears will do the best possible way to fix that center position for 2023, and I'm still pretty confident that one of those three guys will be pretty good nonetheless. But let's get right into it and start off with the first player that I want to talk about today, which is the well-established veteran in Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair was drafted back in 2016 by the Chicago Bears in the second round and is definitely one of the longest tenured Bears that we have on the roster at the moment. Great thing about him is he has center experience, started off his Bears career in 2016 playing center and did it until 2018, and then 2019 and 2020 had experiences with both spots, left guard and the center position, and then in 2021 and 2022 solely played at the guard spots for the Bears. So he definitely went away from that position spot, and it was mainly because he had definitely some snapping issues, and the Bears were looking for other options at the center positions. But looking into the future and in 2023, we have really good guard players. We have Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis, who will probably going to start, and then you have potential backups in Lucas Patrick, maybe Cody Whitehair if he doesn't start at center right, but I feel like the guard spots are pretty well filled up at this point. So we need a center, and I think first of all, it makes so much sense for Cody Whitehair to go back to that spot. Why? He struggled massively in 2022 with his pass protection, and at the center spot, you can definitely hide that. He has to play against nose tackles, which are strong dudes, but I think he can do that specifically better because he can anchor, he can hold up against strong guys. He definitely struggled more with speed rushers that threw a couple of rush moves at him and that were trying to get around him quickly, right? He had some issues with the footwork there, but against the run, he's really still a great player that can get some movement up front, and he will still get some pull blocks at the center position and will be a crucial part of the run game nonetheless. And in pass pro, you can hide him a bit better with double teams, playing against weaker rushers in that kind of a sense with nose tackles mostly in the NFL. So I think it makes sense from a not only schematic standpoint, but also at his point where he is right now at in his career, it makes sense from a technical standpoint as well to just adjust his position to the center spot. Also, he's a well experienced player in the Bears offense, knows everything, so he will be able to make the call outs. He's a very smart player that's really gap sound, knows what he has to do on every single play, and he's also used to getting all the NFL call outs out from his earlier playing days with the Bears, where he mainly played the center position as well, and mostly is pretty durable as well, even though he had some issues in 2022 with injuries too. But I mean, overall, Cody Whitehair for me personally is a great option for the Chicago Bears to fix up the center position for at least 1 year. But there's also competition waiting behind him, and if Cody Whitehair doesn't perform in training camp, there will be another guy that will step up. The second option that we have is Lucas Patrick. Lucas Patrick was brought in last year from the Green Bay Packers through free agency and got a 2-year deal and was essentially brought in to play actually the center position. But as it all turned out, Sam Mustipher was mostly the starter for all of 2022, and Lucas Patrick was injured as well later on the season. But when he was playing at the guard spots. Now for Lucas Patrick, he's 6'3", 313 pounds, and is 29 years old, but was, like I said, initially brought in to play the center position. And when we look at the 2022 tape, I was not really happy with how he played. He really got bull rushed a lot, and opposing edge rushers or just rushers overall, defensive linemen got access to his chest too often to easily drive him back into the quarterback, but I think he still had some really good reps as a pass protector, and also in the run game, he can move some people. Now, same applies for him as with Cody Whitehair. I don't think he's the best pass protector, but at the center position, you once again can hide that. He's also a player that had experience with playing the center position before, especially in 2021 with the Packers, so it's not a position that's totally unfamiliar with him, or he's not totally unfamiliar with, so I can definitely see the Bears also going with the Lucas Patrick direction, even though I think he's not the best player, but he can hold down that position for at least 1 year. And then the third option is waiting, a somewhat unknown to maybe some fans, or a guy that kind of goes under the radar because he was injured for his entire rookie season, but it is former 6th round pick in the 2022 draft for the Bears, Doug Kramer. Kramer's a 6'2", 300-pound center, is only 25 years old, so the youngest option here, and he was a pretty damn solid starter for Illinois in college football, but unfortunately he got injured during, I think even training camp, so I don't think he even suited up, or just for 1 or 2 preseason games. There is not a lot of tape about Doug Kramer. We can't see a lot about him, but I feel like he still has a shot because the Bears didn't do a lot so far in the whole process of the offseason of adding to that spot. So they definitely want to see what those guys that they have at the moment, especially those 3 guys, can do and maybe really won a competition there during training camp. So it will be pretty early on where we will see who will be the starter, because as soon as training camp starts, the guy that gets the first team reps will definitely be the first indication of who will start in 2023 for the Bears at the center position. We obviously have to keep an eye out if those reps change throughout training camp, or if, for example, let's say Cody Whitehair takes all the first team reps during the entire offseason, during the entire training camp phase, then it's obviously obvious that Cody Whitehair will take on those snaps. But, I mean, if it's someone else and just 2 players take on and split first team reps, it's a whole different story, right? So it will be probably pretty obvious early on, but it's still a discussion that we have to talk about because I think it's really interesting. And I feel like Doug Kramer is still an underrated option. Let's see how he holds up during training camp. But I feel like he's a great option too, with maybe getting a gem in the 6th round who can hold down that position for several years, or maybe just be a backup as well, which is super valuable too for us in 2023 if some of the guys, Cody Whitehair or Lucas Patrick, get injured, so he could step in. But I feel like this is one of the bigger position battles that the Chicago Bears will have in the 2023 offseason and during training camp, because there is no set starter at this point in time. You got players from the guard spots that could take over the center role, or a young center that could hope for a starting position within the future for the Bears as well. So I think that's a super interesting kind of a topic that you have to look at. For me personally, right now, Cody Whitehair is the clear-cut favorite because of his past with being a center, even though he had some snapping issues. But I think that's something he can control in 2023, and that's just something we simply have to live with. And for the rest of it, I still think he's a great leader, and he has to be that leader as well because we have a very young offensive line behind him, right? Or besides him. So we need a leader in the middle of the offensive line that Justin Fields can trust. So I think Cody Whitehair is the number 1 guy at the moment, but that's what I'm saying. Training camp will be real interesting and should give us an indication really early on who could be the center, because it's an unknown position battle at this moment. And with that being said, that's already the end of the episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below who you think should be the starter for the Chicago Bears at the center spots for 2023. I think that's a really, really interesting position battle to look at. Like and subscribe if you liked the video. Check out Instagram and Twitter if you want to as well. And as always, guys, bear down.